Chairman Howard, Commissioners, Director Broscheid, good morning. My name is Luke Wiedel. I live here on the Front Range. I'm a hunter, a fisherman, an outdoorsman, and one of your constituents. I'm from Colorado. I've hunted all over Colorado. Even though my wife says that they're too young, I drag my 3 daughters, ages 6, 3, and 1, on plenty of outdoor adventures. I've prepared some thoughts today regarding my observation of human disturbance and outdoor recreation. And I've drafted a quick letter that I'd just like to read to you for your consideration. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on an issue in Colorado, the growing trend of outdoor recreation and how it may be one major factor in declining elk populations in areas throughout Colorado. The Mad Rabbit Trails project proposals in Routt County National Forest is in the Forest Service pre-scoping process. It's getting very serious attention statewide. A CPW analysis conservatively estimated that Mad Rabbit would eliminate up to 22 square miles of undisturbed mule deer and elk habitat. That includes 14 square miles within Colorado roadless areas, designated roadless areas. According to credible reports from hunters, a similar situation has already likely had a detrimental impact on elk populations in Colorado. Following the completion of the Buffalo Pass Trails project, the observed elk population in the Buffalo Pass area has declined in the past 2 years, and interestingly enough, those trails are not yet at capacity. Yesterday, CPW wildlife managers stood before this commission reminding us of a heartbreaking tale of the E16 herd that numbered 10,000 strong and is now at 4,600 animals. While this commission considers the issues facing the E16 herd and its documented 50% decline in fewer than 15 years, the data suggests that this could be a forecast of what might easily happen in other mountain communities which rely on both outdoor recreation and tourism, particularly subsections of DAU E2, namely Unit 14, GMU 14, and 214. Both Buffalo Pass Trails Project and Mad Rabbit Trails Project proposals are within GMU 14. We only need to go to Eagle County to see how quickly trails in our forest can reduce elk habitat and elk survival rates. A June article in the Vail Daily reports that the Eagle County elk population has dropped 50% since 2007. Additionally, a CSU study performed in the Vail area observed that the elk cow-calf ratios plummeted by nearly 40% as a result of human trail use in calving season and rebounded to its previous levels when the disturbance was removed. Along with my 5 brothers and my dad, I've hunted for nearly 2 decades in Routt County, Colorado area, specifically GMU 14. I've become increasingly concerned with trail projects, both completed and proposed, and how they seem to have affected local elk herds. We see significantly less elk than in years prior to Buffalo Pass Trails project construction. If unchecked trails projects continue, I fear opportunities to hunt elk around the Steamboat Springs area will become virtually non-existent. And I'm not alone. Many of your constituents are extremely concerned with the potential impact that outdoor recreation is having on elk recruitment statewide. I know personally of 15 hunters who have shifted areas, GMUs, and even states as a result of this issue. To be certain, I know there's data documenting other known factors which affect elk and other wildlife populations, such as predation, habitat loss, fragmentation, etc. But simply put, it's in our best interest to additionally discuss and confront the data with respect to how rapidly growing outdoor recreation and large-scale trails projects and general increased use and human disturbance seem to be likely culprits in troubling declines in cow-calf ratios. We must begin to consider the adverse effects that all user groups are having on wildlife and their habitat. While I realize my personal observation of declining elk numbers in GMU 14 is circumstantial, and while I would not deny that outdoor recreation is a large economic driver, I also feel strongly that CPW and this commission must aggressively confront what role outdoor recreation could be playing in declining elk populations. This conversation is not about Steamboat Springs, and the Mad Rabbit Trails project proposal specifically. It clearly has implications, economic and otherwise, for rural communities across the West and how elk numbers and other wildlife could be affected by human disruption and unrestricted outdoor activities. It is my hope that hunters and other user groups alike can engage in a productive collaboration, which is both data-driven and cautious in its contribution to management plans, locally and otherwise. Thank you for your commitment to Colorado's wildlife and our hunting heritage. I deeply appreciate your attention to this matter.
Comments or questions, commissioners? Commissioner Bray.
Thank you for that. Excellent presentation. You've identified a problem we've been struggling with for several years, and it's increasing. Number one, I'd like to invite you to stay participating. Do you have any potential solutions? And we're all open.
You know, it's not my area of expertise. I'm not a biologist. But why I'm here today is because I've been working on this issue for probably 5 or 6 years, you know, at the start of this planning for Buffalo Pass Trails projects. Spinning our wheels a lot of the time, but now this issue seems to be something that is getting quite a bit of attention statewide. Like I said in my presentation, I know my observations are circumstantial, but as I dig into the data and as I use the example from Eagle County, it seems like we have a very serious issue on our hands. And I'm not making any, you know, scientific claims, but again, my observations. Solutions, I guess I'm calling on this commission to sort of provide input to certain decision makers using the data that you have or may be able to gather, specifically the Forest Service. You've already done so, but I think the situation is dire. And my fear is, and I don't mean to go off in the weeds, but my fear is that what you're seeing in Eagle County, you're going to soon see in Routt County. That's my fear. And it's the state's largest elk herd. I mean, E2, you know, I'm just a layman, but I've read the DAU. We're over objectives in that current DAU. But I think that I'm not sure that that plan accurately reflects what we have going on in subsections of the DAU, just based on my observations and the trail use that I see now when I look at Eagle County. We got problems.
Well, please do stay engaged. We have a Partners in Outdoor conference coming up in April. This is a kind of topic that organization or that conference can talk about, and there's other forums. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Garcia, then Commissioner Taylor.
I want to echo Commissioner Bray's comments. Thank you. Really appreciate it. It is a huge problem. And you said you wrote a letter. You have, and you indicated, done quite a bit of work over the last 5 years. If there's data that you have, anything you're saying that we have all the data. I'm not sure we always have all the data. If there's anything you have, we'd appreciate it if you share it with us.
Thank you,
You can do
Commissioner.
that by mail or whatever
Sure.
necessary.
Commissioner, I will email you this letter, which has certain references to studies that I've come across. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Taylor.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for traveling to be here to speak with us today. As you were talking, I heard you say quite a few times, or at least a few times, in the spirit of outdoor rec, potentially, in your mind, not being inclusive of hunting activities. You're thinking of outdoor rec in the spirit of trail users?
Right. These trails specifically have been designed for mountain bike use, although they're open to other users, which is another conversation. But I think you're asking about the impact, what specifically I'm referring to when I refer to outdoor recreation.
Well, I understand what you're saying. I would just I would challenge you to think maybe to step it back a level, to think that, you know, when we think of outdoor recreation, we're actually thinking more inclusively about, you know, whether it's a data-driven conversation, an economic impact conversation, but even in the spirit of where we are and what we're doing, you're also outdoor recreating. And so and continuing carrying in that spirit, have you you or your peers, seeing the challenge and the conflict, has there been any kind of collaboration or conversation with the trail user groups, such as Routt County Riders or?
In my experience, first of all, I think hunters are ready to come to the table and say, we have an impact too, a huge impact, but we're highly regulated, and the money that we contribute to wildlife management, wildlife conservation, not just into public agencies, but also into plenty of conservation agencies, many of which I'm a part of. So I think that the idea of outdoor recreation certainly includes, largely includes hunters. Collaboration, I don't know that we're quite to that step yet. You mentioned Routt County Riders. I know of them a little bit, and I'm not really qualified to. I'm not really, in my experience, I don't know of, kind of very effective collaborations yet. I think that that's the only way we achieve any of this in the end. But
I would agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
The conversation and the voices at the table, and the more inclusive that they might be, I think the further, the adage or the proverb that, and we've all heard this, maybe ad nauseum, but to go fast, go alone, to go far, go together. And so I think that there could be some immediate next steps in that regard.
I think so. I also think that part of coming to, like a kind of prior to coming together, I do think, though, that it's about education of various user groups so that people realize that every user group has an impact. And in this case, I think it's a major impact, one that we don't really realize we're having. And in that sense, I don't really mean hunters, but other user groups.
That might be something that where the regional office might have an opportunity to host or facilitate a conversation on behalf of everybody's best interests. We're all, in the end, conservationists. We're all stewards in the end.
Yeah, and I'm not aware of the specifics, but I think that is going on locally there.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other comments or questions? I just make a short comment on my own, just speaking for myself, and also I see Emily's back there, so that I'm directing this just at our staff as well as to GOCA. The last couple of times when we've approved our trails budget, this issue's been brought to my attention quite a bit by hunters. It's increasingly hard for me to vote for that budget. I know that staff is making a huge effort to be involved in trail planning and that kind of stuff, but we have so much, as we've heard so much in the last 2 days about our elk populations, that, for me, it's just getting increasingly hard to vote for those trail budgets. So I'm not making any threats or anything like that. I feel like this issue, as a sportsman's rep, is really got to be at the top of our agenda in planning, and so I just laid that out there as a concern I have as a commissioner. Any other comments or questions? Thanks very much, Mr. Wiedel. You sparked an interesting conversation.
Thank you. Appreciate it.